everybody, and welcome to another Board Game Breakfast. Thanks so much for watching. We have a show for you today that's all about board games and the people who play them. Hey, for those of you who backed our Kickstarter, thanks so much. Anyone who is in the United States should have their Kickstarter backer rewards at this point, unless you ask for the Christmas card, in which case that comes in December. And those who are overseas, your stuff should all be shipped, so you should see that stuff showing up over the next couple of weeks. Now, if you missed it on our website, we have an event that we're going to. We have actually two events that are coming up this month. Sam and Z are going to be out in Texas for a West Texas convention. They're going to be there the 9th and the 10th of September. And then the week after that, all four of us, Sam, Z, myself, and Eric Summerer, will all be up at the Portal Game Store in Manchester, Connecticut. So we really would love to see you guys there. We'll be doing a live top 10 and a lot of other fun things, mostly just gaming with people. So come on out and see us at either one of these events. Today I'll be doing a live Q&A at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I hope to see and talk to some of you there. And I guess that's pretty much it for now. Let's get to the news. Hopefully Star Trek Ascendancy from Gale Force 9 is doing exceedingly well, and they've announced a couple expansions for it, the Ferengi and the Cardassians. Both these add a new race and another player to the game. Now, I have not yet played the game yet, but it is a lengthy game, an hour per player, so adding more of these will lengthen the game out. But from what I can tell, the game has been getting very positive early reviews, and people are excited about adding more to it. There's a new expansion for Letters from Whitechapel called Dear Boss. This has had different modules that you can add to the game and miniatures. The miniature thing is kind of interesting to me because Letters from Whitechapel has a pretty dark theme about Jack the Ripper killing people, but it's chasing them afterwards. So I've never really had a problem with the theme because it's pretty abstracted out. Having the miniatures, will that make the theme more pronounced? I don't know, I'm just a little curious about that. Renegade Games has announced an expansion for their popular game Lanterns, Emperor's Gift. So it's going to add player pavilions and other things to that game. Yellow has announced a new children's game that's a co-op fantasy style game. This is a new line of games that they're starting. Yellow's moving even farther into that children and family territory. Z-Man has announced their third game in the Carcassonne Around the World series, which is Carcassonne Amazonas. And this is going to have about discovering the end of the river and finding different tiles and so on like that. But I imagine it's still pretty close to Carcassonne, as all these Carcassonne games tend to be. WizKids has announced another board game in their new line of games that's coming from Zev since he moved over there, and that's Rock, Paper, Wizard. This one is designed by Josh Capel, Jay Cormier, and Sen-Fung Lim. These three together, it's basically rock, paper, scissors, but with a whole lot of extra stuff added. Rock, paper, scissors is an interesting thing. I've seen it before used as a mechanism in games. To have the whole game based around it makes me wary, but hey, you never know. And Richard Breeze has announced Key to the City, London. Now, he has a whole series of games called Key This, Key That. This one just has the word key in it. But this one looks like a very intriguing game. It's based on an older, very good game of his called Cathedral. So I'd love to see more of that come into play. Or maybe it's based on Keyflower. Well, it's based on one of his key games anyway. Well, that's the regular news. Let's go over to Suzanne for Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody. There are some really pretty projects out there right now, so let's take a look at what's happening in our crowdfunding world today. Corosha, or Corodia, is a light cooperative game in which players team up through 3 rounds of maze building and then guiding a bunny through those mazes to collect as many carrots as possible. But there are birds in the maze that are trying to thwart your poor bunny's journey. And building the mazes is a timed cooperative effort, with each round requiring a bigger maze. There are cards that will dictate the elements of the maze, but players are trying to make it as simple of a maze as possible within that very short time limit. Thankfully, each player also has a special bunny with an ability to help out too. Real-time games can stress some players out, but the cooperative nature of this one kind of eases that pressure, and the art on the game is simply lovely. You can get a copy of the game for a pledge of $25 plus shipping. In Unfair, you get to build up your theme park with rides, attractions, food stands, and more. Unfair is full of fun art and thematic cards, and it's ripe with combo-tastic card play as you build up your amusement park tableau. Leveraging staff, special powers, and combos will bring in more guests and money, but there are event cards that can be used to help or hurt, and each round you're going to have to deal with a different condition. And your personal blueprint card will help you direct your strategy and will score you some extra points at the end of the game. At the time of this recording, Unfair had 5 theme packs unlocked, including ninjas, robots, and vampires, each with their own strategic advantages, with more decks on slate to unlock. You can get a copy of Unfair for a pledge of $49. Nomi is designed as a light game on the go because it's playable completely held in your hand. Players get a hand of cards made of mushrooms and gnomes. When they're used, they simply go back in your hand upside down. The gameplay is quick, with the winner being the last player to still have upright cards in their hand. You can reveal a mushroom to steal one of the same type from an opponent, kind of like Go Fish, really. But gnomes also have a wide range of abilities that let you steal or wake up cards or do other kind of game-breaking things. Nomi is the type of game that's perfect for playing while waiting in a line or for a movie to start, and it's simple enough for children as young as 6. You can get a copy of Nomi for a pledge of just $15. Warco is a card battling game set hundreds of years in the future. There are 6 different decks available that are pre-built, but you can mix and match up the cards to deck build and extend the gameplay. In Warco, cards are machines or technologies that you use to beat down your opponent and whittle away at their deck. Machines must attack machines before opponents, but there's really not much turtling because if no one attacks within 3 rounds, the board is wiped clean. There's also some tight resource management because there's a 5 machine and 2 tech card limit, and every card in play uses your limited energy each round, which adds additional tension to the choices you make. On top of that, cards can be played face up or face down for kind of a light bluffing and tactical trickery element. A pledge of $25 will get you 2 decks of Warco, and a pledge of $60 will get you all 6 starter decks. And last but not least, one of the most beautiful games I've seen, Herbaceous, is designed by Steve Finn, who designed Biblios. In fact, this set collection game feels a bit like Biblios Light, as players try to collect sets of herbs to plant into the containers. Cards will be placed in the public garden or your private garden, and sets can be made from either, which adds a bit of pusher luck too, because other players could snap up the public cards you were hoping to nab. And of course, you can chase the 9 special herb cards to try and get the bun. And there is a mini expansion too that has card abilities that kind of tweak the gameplay for a bit of variety. Between Herbaceous' uncommon theme, the stunning art, and its easy to learn gameplay, it makes a great gateway game or quick filler. You can get a copy of Herbaceous for a pledge of just $19. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hi, I'm Ian James, and welcome to Component Moment. And today we're going to take a look at Jay Clancy's Cosmic Pioneers by Vesuvius Media. So let's open the box. Great Scott! They've given us all they've got! There are so many components, and you don't even use them all in one game. There are 7.9 billion combinations. So you can play it a few times, and it'll be different every time. There's a rule book. 27 different planets with special adventures, credits and goods. A start player token, a round tracker for unique characters with special abilities and upgradable ships. You can even be a kid in this game. Cubes! Alien movement cards and unique scenarios. Player spaceships. 2 dice. A swarm of freaky alien meatballs. Exterminate! Exterminate the aliens! If this game looks as cool to you as it does to me,
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Basil.
Jason Levine.
Today our question is from Marco, and he says he likes to play a lot of games. And there's all these great 4 to 5 player games. Most games seem to be capped at 4 or 5 players. And that's frustrating, he says, because he has maybe 6 or 7 players, and he wants to play these games. Is there a way that you can just shoehorn these people in anyway? Do we know any specific games where you can do that?
Yes, there's a way to shoehorn them in. It's called play 2 3-player games or a 3-player game and a 4-player game. You should not
He stole what I was going to say.
try to shoehorn people in a 5-player game and try to make it a 7-player game. That's just ridiculous.
I'm telling you, I cannot tell them. Every time we have 7 people, they're like, well, wasn't there a game we can all play? I'm like, what does it matter? You 4 play, we 3 will play. Or we'll 4 play. I don't care, but let's just split into 2 groups. Or even a 5 and a 2.
Yeah.
Who cares? You can do it. I played games where I said, okay, you 2 are on the same team. Right?
Yes.
But then you're playing half a game because you're sharing it with somebody else.
Yeah.
And there are very few games, usually they're party games where you can go over the limit,
yes.
but very few. In fact, most games, like whenever, you can ask Jason, whenever I bring out a new game and it says like 2 to 5, I'm like, right,
We're going to play with 3 or 4. 3 or 4 at the most. We're never playing with the 5.
Because usually the manufacturer has already pushed the boundaries with how many people can in. They're like, oh, we got to make this with 5 so more people will buy the game. You know, and so if they're doing that, they're like, oh, 6? Are you kidding me? Oh. And a lot of these games don't even have the pieces to handle that.
Yeah.
So there's some games out there, and there's 6 and 7 player games out there. Obviously, there's not a lot of them comparatively, and most of them are party style games.
Yeah.
But I agree with Jason. You gotta learn to split the group.
Yeah, or just pull out 7 Wonders. If you really want to play with all 7 people, just pull out 7 Wonders and you can do it.
Well, you got to do 7 Wonders. Power Grid plays 6.
Yeah.
Although I think you're kind of crazy to play Power Grid with 6.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really long game. But, I mean, there's games. Does Terra Mystica go up to 6?
Terra Mystica, no, it's 5.
It's 5, okay. But there are some games, and even, you know, it's kind of funny because this happened with Settlers of Catan. When that first came out, it was 3 to 4 players.
Yes.
And people were like, we want 5 to 6 players.
So they made the Peanut.
Peanut.
The Peanut, where you put the 2 games together and you can play with up to 8. The Peanut board, don't you remember? They made the Peanut for like multiple players.
Okay, what I was going to actually say, I don't know, Peanut. They made a 5 to 6 player expansion.
Yes.
Okay. And that 5 to 6 player expansion, you're like, oh yeah, we can play with 5 to 6 players. And you know what? It bogs the game down. The game takes way too long with 5 to 6 players. It just doesn't work. And if you go see people playing Catan today, like at any convention and tournaments, it's 4 players.
Of course.
Hardly anyone plays 5 to 6 players. Why? Because the game wasn't designed for that. Designers have tried. I promise you, they want the game to play 1 to 1,000.
And it plays well in 1,000. I saw Settlers in 1,000. That was pretty cool.
But what I'm saying is they want it to be as wide of a range as possible. So I promise you, they have the widest possible range on that box. They do. If you go above that, you are like stepping in a landmine field.
Yes.
So, not recommended. Anyway, that's our answers. I'm Tom Basil.
Jason Levine.
So, we're engaging in the annual Whitleypedia State of the Game, where we're talking about how things are going in Dungeons & Dragons, whose 5th edition hit stores 2 years ago this summer. I think I can say 5th edition is widely regarded as the best instance of the game. They've incorporated elements of the previous versions of the game to make one composite that has something to offer anyone, appealing to the 3 tranches of exploration, interaction, and combat. How did they do this? How did they accomplish such a feat?
No pun intended.
After 4th edition, for whatever virtues it may have had, hit the gaming world like a bag of dead beholders, Wizards of the Coast realized that it wasn't going to last and they were going to need to make some changes. Indeed, 4th edition only lasted 6 years, which is less time than any other version of the game. In laying the groundwork for 5th edition, the company went through a year-long public playtesting, where every month or so they would release, for free, a new rule set for people to try out. Which my gaming group did in this very room. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. With each version of the playtest, the game became more refined. The final product is one that incorporated the simplicity of earlier editions without being too basic, the customization options of 3rd edition without being too bloated, and the ease of dungeon mastering of 4th edition without feeling like an MMORPG. Continuing that trend, Wizards is maintaining the dialogue that it began in the playtest, Every month we see a Sage Advice column, which provides rules clarifications, an Unearthed Arcana, which introduces new rules and character customizations options, and then a survey, in which they ask people what they think about the new content that's been introduced. I'm particularly impressed that WotC is giving such attention to D&D, given how much less of a cash cow it must be than Magic the Gathering. So, thank you, WotC. You guys are killing it. You could say you rolled a critical in the 5th edition of a game that technically has 6 editions. Go look it up on Wikipedia. It's real. But is it perfect? Well, I can't say. There are some ways in which the game system could be a little better, which we'll discuss next week in our final edition of the first annual D&D Whitleypedia State of the Game.
Hi, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In a previous episode, I showed you how I supersized Garbage Day to go from this to this. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it. All of my secrets are going to be revealed in this video. Let me show you what I did. The first thing you're going to want to do is find a trash can that is the right size for this project. One larger than the original, but not too big, and they need to be proportionally correct to the cards that you are going to be creating. I found this trash can at World Market. It's a perfect size, but you can find them anywhere. After you bring the trash can home, you find a place that you can paint it if it needs painting, which mine did, and this is the brand that I used. And when you paint it, don't forget to paint the inside of the lid and the inside of the trash can itself. To reproduce the cards, I had to actually find every unique card in this deck and set it aside, and then I used a scanning app on my iPhone to take a picture of each card, and it automatically put it into the app looking for the edges of the card, and I could fine adjust them if I wanted. This was much easier as I was able to import the pictures of the cards to my computer and then put them in Microsoft Word. Once I put the cards in Microsoft Word, I was able to resize them so that they were exactly the right size in proportion to the trash can that I bought for this game. I then printed the cards out on my Canon printer. Nothing special about my printer, and the ink that I purchased on Amazon is very cheap, so I can print off all of these cards as cheaply as possible. After printing out the cards, all I had to do was cut the 8.5 by 11 photo paper right in half, spraying the cards with a polyurethane. And the reason I had to do that was because photo paper sticks with itself really well, and this game needs the cards to be a little slipperier like real cards. As you can see, creating your own supersized version of Garbage Day is not only easy and fun, but 4 out of 5 gamers prefer it over the smaller version, according to an independent study of my own. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 101. One of the biggest questions that I always get all the time is, well, I'm done painting, how do I seal these things? And you're probably wondering, why would you want to seal a figure? Well, when your friends come over, okay, and their hands are full of Dorito and Mountain Dew, okay, basically what happens when they touch them, they can actually rub the paint off. And after you put all that hard work into, the last thing you want to do is have somebody start to take the paint off. But I've also heard a lot of things about how tough it is to seal things, that sometimes when they spray the sealant on there, it's too shiny or it's got cloudy and blocked up. I did some investigation and I learned a few things. First of all, they have a thing that's called clear sealant, and it's flat. It's not very good. A lot of times if you read on the back, it's really not good with plastic. So you will get that kind of foggy or kind of like chalky white substance over it. And it really covers up your paint, and that's the last thing you want to do. The other big mistake that's made is a crystal clear enamel. You think you're going to seal the paint, but it actually turns out to be a gloss and an enamel, which goes on the plastic. Number one, makes it shiny and could take a chance in basically melting your plastic, which is the last thing that you want to do. The thing that I always use, and I always have a lot of success, is this Treehouse Studio stuff. And it says clearly on it, clear acrylic matte coating. Dries in minutes. I've never had a problem with it. So make sure, again, that it says clear acrylic and it's a matte coating. Flat. Not gloss, not semi-gloss, not satin. Flat. Matte. If you remember those 2 words, you are going to find that all your hard work will be paid off and preserved for a very long time. With that, that's it for this week's segment. I'm Rob Warren. We'll see you soon.
Okay, some really cool reviews coming this week. I think the one I'm most excited about is A Feast for Odin, which is the newest Uwe Rosenberg game. And then we're also going to be taking a look at the power-up expansion for King of New York. The Others is coming this week, Hit Z Road. Jason and I are going to take a look at Manhattan Project Energy Empire. And there's several other games that we'll be going over this week. Also, Board Game Blender will be coming out on Thursday. Another talkback will be coming out this week from all of us. And then there's reviews from Sam and Z and lots of other people. So, and then I'm also going to be continuing my best of the last 40 years of gaming. And Chaz Marler is going to be continuing his top 100 games of all time. I believe this week he'll be going from 80 to 60. So you can find out some great games that way. Anyhow, you can also check out all the podcasts, not just our podcast, which comes out every Tuesday, but all the different podcasts in our network you can find on dicetower.com. And if you do like our podcast but want to see pictures of the games and stuff, or just like using YouTube for whatever reason, we do post that each week. And we're posting our old podcast from years gone by. We're slowly going to have all our podcasts put on video at some point in time. That'll probably take years for that to happen. But that is on the agenda. All right. Well, let's continue on. Bye.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and sometimes nothing bothers me more than inconsistency. I'll often lay awake at night devising solutions to inconsistencies in our beloved board game hobby, which can cause confusion and degrade our gaming experience. Okay, actually, no I don't. I usually just lay there imagining hat-wearing squirrels. But for the sake of argument, as an example of an inconsistency in board game component design that can cause confusion, I present Exhibit A, these custom 6-sided dice that include an organization's logo on one of the sides. Now, I usually enjoy dice as much as I enjoy a tree-dwelling rodent in a chapeau, and these custom dice are nice, featuring a fantastic miniature logo every time you roll a 6. Or was it a 1? Actually, on this one, it's a 1. And here, the logo's on the 6. No, that's a 1 as well. Ah! Don't make me think, dice! If I wanted to think, I'd stop drinking paint. When having to stop and think when using an object, be it a computer interface, an appliance, or even a die, it introduces a point of potential confusion and error. And inconsistencies aren't caused just by trying something unique, but sometimes from actually trying to make improvements. For example, of all the backer rewards in the Dice Tower's most recent Kickstarter campaign, the one that I've been looking forward to the most is the deck of playing card money. But instead of using the standard $20 denomination, the designer opted to use $25 instead. This isn't an inconsistency with board game design canon, but with national monetary currencies, including the US, Canadian, and Australian dollars, plus the euro, all of which use 20s. This inconsistency can certainly cause problems, because in my experience, it already has. See, zillions of years ago, I printed my own paper money to use with various games, and thinking that it would be easier to make change, I used $25 banknotes instead of the standard 20. And guess what? The $25 bills were consistently miscalculated, miscounted, and misdistributed. The $25 bills were so prone to error, in fact, that even though it required managing a greater number of bills and doing more math, we soon just stopped using the 25s completely. It's an example of how a well-meaning design choice that technically may even be a logical improvement can actually cause more confusion than just adhering to the social norms. Need proof? Just ask your Dvorak keyboard. Have you encountered non-standard board game designs that have led to confusion? Or perhaps a different take on things that actually improved your gaming experience? Send me your comments using your favorite bushy-tailed delivery service.
everyone, and welcome to another segment of Board Gaming with Colleagues with To Die For Games. I'm Mandy, the board gaming pinup girl.
I'm Tracy, the gaming maven.
And I'm Steph, the games teacher. Oh my goodness, it's
Lunchtime!
Oh My Goods is designed by Alexander Pfister, published by Lookout Spiel Games, plays 2 to 4 players in about 30 minutes.
The objective of the game is to be the player with the most victory points after someone has built 8 buildings.
Yeah, that's correct. This game is a lot of game in a small box. I mean, you have workers that they can build sloppily or orderly. I know, kind of cool, right? Which allows you to produce off of your buildings. And this allows you to have money in order to buy other buildings and gain those victory points. You can also have assistants which help you get those, they actually help you produce off of those buildings, so you can get more points at the end of the game.
The big thing I like about this game is the different ways you can use the card. The card is used for the market, the card is used as resources, the card is used as a building, so it's kind of cool. It's like really compact game that has a lot going for it.
I like the artwork. It's very reminiscent of Agricola and other games from Uwe Rosenberg. So in that style of art, I really like the art in this game.
Yeah, doesn't the Alexander do Isle of Skye as well?
Yes, our newest acquisition, Isle of Skye.
And the
Another
Spiel
great
des
game.
Jahres winner for this year.
Yeah, so there you go. I do find this game, I love it. There is a lot of iconography on the cards, so to explain it, it's often maybe a good idea to just let people know ahead of time, because during lunch hour you're probably going to need a longer lunch hour, about an hour for this one. But otherwise, great game. So that's it. All right, well, let's get to it. We don't have much time left. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about electronics and gaming. I remember when this was years ago when smartphones and tablets were first coming out, and there was a thing about playing Scrabble. And me and some of the people that I knew, we mocked this. We're like, oh yeah, it's fun to play Scrabble. All you need is a $600 iPad and a couple $100 phones for each player, and you're paying $800 plus $600, $1,400 to play Scrabble when you can go buy it at the store for $15. What a waste of money, ha 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 ha. Well, times have changed. Now pretty much everyone has a smartphone. Yes, I know there will be inevitably someone in the comments, I don't need these new smartphones. Fine, but most people have smartphones. And tablets are much more common, and the iPhone is not, and the iPad are no longer ruling the roost. There's Androids and all sorts of tablets that are out there. So the idea of games on the iPad and iPhone are much more useful and much more common. And in fact, many people play games on the iPad and the iPhone. Well, this lesson I'm going to be talking I've been asked to speak a little bit about the integration between iPads, iPhones, and board games, but I thought I would take a look at that now, where we are in the industry. For a while, we've had different apps for games included. Sometimes they're as basic as a timer, right? Just a timer added to the game. Sometimes they do different background things, but we're starting to see more and more useful apps being released. For example, Dead of Winter has a very useful app with the cards, which actually is better than the cards because it shows you your choices, and you pick one of those choices, and then it tells you what happens, which makes Dead of Winter a much more interesting game, and it allows them to add to that card deck in the future without you having to go buy physical product. Does it change the board game itself? No, it adds and enhances it. And other apps are enhancing games. Sometimes they're absolutely necessary for a board game, like the new Mansions of Madness one. Other times they're not necessary, but highly recommend it, like Alchemist and XCOM the board game. Or maybe XCOM the board game, you actually need the app. But there's different various usage of apps. Now, when I did that whole you need $1,200 to play this Scrabble game, that was a bit of a get off my lawn moment, right? It was expensive. It was kind of silly, but it was kind of cool for the people doing it. It's no longer as expensive, or even if it is that expensive, it's something that you already own anyway. And so using apps and things in board games is a much more common thing. In fact, almost every young person I know under the age of 30, in fact, I think I would have a hard time finding anybody who doesn't have access to some sort of smart device, whether it be a phone or a tablet or both. And yet there's still kind of a backlash to using apps in games. Now, there certainly is some disadvantages. If you're using an app in a board game and if it requires like a tablet, you might have to pass it around a table. There's the chance that it will break. There's updates. It could crash. If you're playing in a public place, the music and sound effects from it might be either A, very hard to hear and utilize in a game, or annoying to everybody around you, or both. So there are problems with them, but I think the advantages to them are great. What these apps allow in a board game is dynamic content. They take away a lot of the bookkeeping that players have to do. Board games are fun, and some people really like bookkeeping parts of games, but a lot of us aren't really that keen on it. Do I really need to keep track of all these different numbers? Apps also allow an integration of random events in a much better way than a deck of cards can ever do, and I think that's really shown in evidence by the latest Mansions of Madness, where it comes in and they say, okay, here's the different random events or set events that will happen, and I don't need to look at a book and say, okay, turn 6 and then draw this card or do this. No, the app just does all that automatically for you, and that makes it really easy. Now, some people are opposed to apps because they say it takes away from the board game experience. And the whole analog board game, and yes, I'm using analog to mean physical board game. That's just the word I'm going to use. That's what a lot of people use. Sorry about that. But the analog board game experience is going to become less and less as we use more and more of the apps. For example, some people said the new Mansions of Madness, you could simply just play on the app. Well, you can. You would still have to use proxy pieces. And in my review, I showed a lot of the app, and people said, well, all you did was show the app. I actually did feature the app in my review, but there is a lot of physical components to the board game. And in fact, without those, I would not be as impressed with the game. I like having the physical monsters moving around and being able to look at the board as a whole and not have to scroll around. Besides, when I'm working the app, everyone else can kind of look at the board and you have cards. So I like actually the mix. I like the feeling of the pieces of the board game, but I also like the app, which enhances the experience through music and random events and a storyline and with downloadable additions that can come in the future. And I still get that around the table experience. See, for me, the whole electronic versus physical components, I do like the tangible feeling of physical components. But the main reason I play board games around a table is that experience with others. My favorite game system is still the Wii. And yes, I know the PlayStation and Xboxes have huge, wonderful, amazing games. But the Wii got my wife to play video games. The Wii got my family, and we were playing games together in the same room. And those experiences we had of playing tennis and bowling and Mario Kart or whatever, we were doing it together. Now, I know you can do those on other systems, but the Wii really enhanced that, coming together and doing things. And even though we were facing the same direction and all facing the console and stuff, it still was a very entertaining and fun experience and brought people together, which made me like that system more than the others, even though the others had technically better games. So video games are amazing, but they don't bring people around a table. And that's why I like board games. So since that's my number one reason for enjoying board games and having that around the table back and forth experience, bringing an electronic component into that doesn't really devalue that for me. Now, I don't know that I want to get to the point where we're just passing around an iPad and nothing else matters. I'm not opposed to that idea. I still like having pieces around the board. I like looking at it. I like seeing the visual 3D effect of everything. But I'm willing to bring these in. I understand people who don't want to do it. I would be hesitant to call them Luddites and say, wow, you don't want to play electronics? What's wrong with you? Because some people are very opposed to that. But I think the fears like, oh no, this is going to destroy board gaming. Well, that's really unfounded. I think it's an enhancement. And it's, we're seeing more of it now, but still we're seeing it being used in like 1 out of 100 new games is using it. Now, some of those games are big name games and are really making a splash, but if we see more stuff like Mansions of Madness, and I know I keep coming back to that game, but I think that game was the first one I've seen where it was like 50% app, 50% board game, and I'm really enjoying that mix, and I like to see more of that. I don't need to see it in all my board games, but I would like to see it in more of them, especially ones that require a lot of bookkeeping. So I'm very excited about the future of this. I look forward to it. I hope that it's done well, because a poorly implemented one with bad writing and bad effects and just bad programming would really mess up a game. And I'm sure we'll see those as time comes by. But for now, I think it's an exciting new arena to explore, and I think it will really enhance board gaming overall.
Hi guys. News from Germany this week, where for the first time since the end of the Cold War, and without sounding too panicky, the German government has urged its citizens to stockpile food and water. This concept for civil defense comes from the Interior Ministry and does not see an attack on Germany's territory as likely. However, the precautionary measures that demand that people prepare appropriately for a development that could threaten our existence cannot be categorically ruled out in the future. This week I am playing a game that takes us back to the beginning of the Cold War, where players get to revisit a very tense time in the history of the world. This week I am playing Twilight Struggle. Twilight Struggle lets the USSR and United States battle it out again on a Risk-like board. But instead of a full-out war, the board depicts the amount of influence each of the superpowers have on the different regions of the board. Influence changes when players play hand cards with real-life historical events. Meanwhile, there is a space race going on, giving players bonuses for being first, and there is the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. Twilight Struggle is a very tense game, and is certainly not for every gamer, but there is so much good stuff going on that I feel guilty that I do not play it enough. Being able to replay historical events and see what their impact is on the globe really has broadened my view of the political world. If you have the time, please enjoy Twilight Struggle. Thanks for watching. My name is Dave Luza. See you next week.
Hey there, my name is Niels, Cyril's Brettspiele, and today in the best and the worst, we are talking about greedy goblins, Ulrich Entertainment and Richard Garfield. Huh? The best part or the best moment in greedy goblins for me is when you flip over all these tiles and you see, oh, there are diamond, there are gold bar, there are sapphires in a wow, and you have one dynamite, two dynamite, oh, lots of worth, and now the final last piece. Is it a diamond and the mine is blowing up, or is it more gold? I also like the hectic aspect on the game, but that is exactly the flip side of the game. That creates a lot of frustration, at least in me. So let's assume I'm already done with most of my job on this, and I said, well, okay, I'm claiming this mine here. Now, because 4 players in a 4-player game sitting around the table and thinking, oh, this is, and probably this token is not here, it's here, then this area for the player over there is too far away. He could technically have a dynamite in his hand and then put it there. He is looking more for his own mines over there, and don't keep an attention if there's a token, a goblin on it or not. So now he could, even if it's not allowed and this is closed down, just simply sneak in another one, and nobody really see that. That's not really cheating, because he's just simply overseeing this token. So shutting down a mine is really hard in this hectical moments. That's a downside and the worst thing for me in this game. That was my personal favorite on Richard Garfield's Greedy Goblin. See you next time for the best and the worst. Niels, Cyril's Brettspiele.
Today, first thing we're going to look at is Space Roller Dice. These come in packs of 2, and as you can see, they kind of have a space theme to them. I got different colors here. So they have the regular pips that are on a 6-sided die, but they also have this futuristic look to them. So I got silver and black and purple and green and white. I think the white ones and the gold ones are probably the best looking ones. Here's the deal though. When there's no lights on, they all look good because these lines glow in the dark. Now that's really cool, but also extremely not useful, because who's going to be looking at who's playing dice in the dark? Maybe you are, in which case these are fantastic. But I think even without the glow in the dark aspect to them, they look really fun. So if you have some sort of science fiction theme, these would be dice that I would recommend you checking out. Really cool dice. Those are space roller dice. So we're looking again at some more Meeple Source stuff here, and here we have replacement coins, which these are the coins from the original game Cardboard Counters. So now you got coins that are wood and silver coins. We have replacements for the food and wood. Now I actually don't hate the food and the wood from Champions of Midgard. These are okay pieces, right? They're better than cubes, but I do like the food and the wood better here. I especially like the food for whatever reason. We also have new blame tokens, that's these, and we have these fortune tokens. The fortune tokens are little horns, and both of these are different than the cardboard discs. So this is not one I would consider to be essential because the pieces for Champions of Midgard are not horrible. But these, of course, are much nicer, so you can check these out. You can get these from Meeple Source, upgraded components for Champions of Midgard.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Digidice, which is one of my favorite app developers right now, has released Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small in app form. This is a 2-player Uwe Rosenberg game, and it's out on iOS, Android, and even Windows Phone. Does it live up to their previous app quality? Let's take a quick look. In Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small, you use your 3 workers to build up your farm to accommodate as many pigs, sheep, horses, and cows as possible in 8 quick rounds. You have to manage the land and resources and account for the breeding phase each round. It's a quick puzzly game. Digidice already brought us the excellent Le Havre Inland Port and Patchwork apps, but All Creatures Big and Small feels more intricate. There's a lot on the screen with the different action spaces, and learning the iconography will probably take you a game or two. The tutorial will teach you the game and the interface, but if you haven't played the real game before, this is probably one of those games that will take 1 or 2 plays before everything feels really intuitive. That said, the game is done excellently. The graphics are sharp and the art looks great. Besides being released on all 3 major platforms, there are also 3 levels of AI to play against, pass and play, and online play. While the game felt a bit cramped on a phone screen, it works really well on a tablet, and they made smart decisions about switching between the farm and action views. The game plays super quickly against an AI, but it still gives you that lovely brain burn, and overall playing it is a very satisfying gaming experience. Once again, Digidice creates a top-shelf port of a 2-player Uwe Rosenberg game. If you love Agricola All Creatures Big and Small, or have just been wanting to try it, I definitely recommend you give this a try.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about games for children of 5 and under. So today we're going to talk to you about this game. What's it called?
Linus Magician.
Linus the Magician, or Linus the Little Magician, or to be more accurate, Linus the Klein Magier. Magier? That doesn't sound very German. It's a German game. Now this is Linus, and he is a magician, but he's a very naughty magician because he's got a very untidy bedroom. So the aim of the game is to help Linus tidy up his bedroom as best we can, basically. So here's how you play. On your turn, you're going to turn over a card, which tells you which item Linus is going to be looking for. Then you take the little wooden Linus, which has got a little magnet in the bottom of it, and place it on top of one of the discs on the table. Some of these discs have magnets in them, and some of them don't. If Linus sticks to one of the discs, then you keep it and score a point. If not, well, you have to try and remember where that disc was, just in case you get it next time. So you carry on playing, and the person who gets the most of these discs is the winner, basically. It's a memory game, ultimately, with a little bit of an added twist because of the magnet. And every game's made better with a magnet, isn't it, Cora? Mm-hmm. We like magnets in this house. So, Cora, do you like Linus the Magician?
Yes.
Yes. What's the best bit about it?
I like when you get points.
Yes. Yeah. I like getting points too. Who just won that game?
You.
Yes! I'm the winner!
I definitely noticed I wouldn't win.
No, because you didn't get as many as me, did you?
Yeah.
That's 2 thumbs up for me.
1 point.
1 for you. 1 for you. She's a harsh critic.
Actually.
This October 21st and 22nd, I'll be attending AirCon, my second ever board gaming convention, and I'm as excited as a chimp at an all-you-can-eat banana festival jamboree beachside bar and grill thing. Chimpos. No. Banana Republic. No, chimpies. Chimps. Chimpos. Chimpy McGee's. I had a great time at this year's UK Expo, right? It was brilliant. All the publishers and the people and the artists and the games. But there's one thing I didn't do at the Expo, and that was actually play any games. At all. And that's why I'm excited for AirCon 3. AirCon Hardenera, the Return of the Jedi King of Azkaban. I think Apollo Creed's in it. Because along with a big board game library, designer workshops, event, and a curry night, what I'm looking forward to most, along with all the other stuff that AirCon has going on, is what they focus on. And that's actually sitting down, making friends, and playing games, which is what I missed out on at the UK Game Expo. So there's a chance I might see some of you there, and for all the other viewers of Board Game Breakfast, I'll be forcibly telling you how it went on this segment. I'm also looking for investors. Chimpos, Beachside Bar and Jamboree Grill, Chimptown, Bananaville, Chimpos, Chimp McGee's, coming soon.
If you're a board game cafe, your library is pretty much your most important asset. You can have a great location, expert staff, and serve the best darn roasted bean-related beverages in the known universe, but if your library consists of just 3 copies of Trivial Pursuit's Genus 2 edition, a Connect 4 with a broken leg, and 2 partial copies of Mall Madness, you aren't really a board game cafe, now are you? It took a lot of time and effort to implement, but the best system we've found for organizing our collection is our coordinate stickering system. Every game in the collection has a sticker with a number and a letter. The number refers to which column the game belongs in, and the letter refers to which row. So if you can play Battleship, you can put away a game at any Snakes and Lattes location. Now, of course, we have plenty of empty game return shelves for those people who don't know about the stickers or just feel like not using them. Some of our more eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that there are colored stickers on the spines of the games in our collection. These aren't just for decoration. The colored sticker system helps our customers decide if the game that they're looking for is the right game for them. We have blue stickers on any game that we think works well for 2 people. Now, once upon a time, we had a whole section of the wall dedicated for 2-player games. But what we found was that a lot of games that are great for 2, but also support more, were being overlooked by larger groups. So games like Finca, Carcassonne, or Ticket to Ride weren't getting played by groups of 3 or more because they were in the 2-player section. Now, a lot of people wonder, why not just go by the player count on the box? Well, that's because sometimes the box lies. A game may say that it's good for 2 people when in reality it uses some sort of variation on the rules or requires a dummy player, and that's just not really good for 2. Other times, they'll say you need 3 or more people when in reality the game is just awesome with 2. The other color system we have is the traffic light, green, yellow, and red. These colors indicate the relative complexity of the games, as well as the amount of assistance that you can expect from the gurus and other staff in the cafe. A green game is well known by the staff and relatively simple to learn, so anyone can pick it up and pretty much anyone can teach it to you. The yellow games are trickier and most people will need some assistance with it, and if the guru on duty knows the game, they'll be more than happy to lend a hand. Red games, on the other hand, are the most complicated games in the collection, many of them having very long rulebooks, and it would take an hour or more for an expert in the game to explain to someone how to play. So with these games, we recommend that you download the PDF and do some homework before you come into the cafe. Stickers. They're not just for 2nd grade teachers anymore. They can keep your game catalog organized, and they can make sure that your gurus are spending time getting the right games into the hands of the right customers. As always, stuff and slate with Twitter stuff. Yeah, social media. Woo! Yeah, I think we can cut before I start babbling there.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast, folks. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Once again, I'll see you at 4 o'clock today for the live Q&A. Guys, it's been a really great month. I really appreciate everyone's patience with the Kickstarter shipments. I really appreciate everyone's patience where we were held up for several days after Gen Con, and so then get all the game reviews out as fast. But I hope that we're putting them out at a decent clip. And I know a lot of people are looking like, where's the review of this game and so on. Well, there's just a ton of games out right now. So we're getting to them as fast as we can. We're also trying to stagger the reviews somewhat. So you know, we don't want to put up all 50 in one day. We want to kind of stagger them so you can see some great stuff. Hey, Chaz is doing his top 100 this week. Is he right or is he wrong? Go check those out again. Anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks so much for watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.